And of course, as far as Mayor Vico is concerned, he comes from a very well-known and active, vigorous political dynasty from Cebu. They speak Visayan. Dili taon Kaloy. Kaloy. Anyway, the Sotos are very close to UP. I think you know that. So your uncles, your father, they're very close and supportive of UP. And so I don't feel like I'm with strangers. And thank you for your donation. They spent over $1 billion for gadgets for our children and for our people. That's really something very well at this point in time, still unusual. And we only have 3 or 4 local governments who are among the Billionaires Club and so far supporting the need for digital material for our children. And of course, I never tire of repeating again and again and again. Each time we are excoriated and criticized for the piece of performance, and I always say, look at Pasig. It's just around the corner, and Pasig City has 3 schools, including our own City Science High School, whose scores, as pointed out by Bong Roman, exceeded OECD countries. These are the donor countries. These are the Europeans and countries who are very proud of their system of education, and the scores of Pasig exceeded them, along with 20 other schools in the Philippines. Unfortunately, good news is not as exciting as bad news. So what we do is repeat it again and again. There are good schools, there are good students, and there are good political leaders who support education. And this is why, when we were discussing the possibility, firstly of the pilot, and now the possible reopening of face-to-face classes, we specified that we have to have the support of the legislature, of course, the congressman, and the local government. We will not open what we in Visayan say the face-to-face classes without the consent of the local government and the support, because traditionally, historically, local governments have always been very supportive of education, and they reflect the culture, the attitude of our Philippine traditions, where education is always given priority, whether it be at the national level or at the local level. So when I said, because in 6 months' time, by the end of this year, I keep on reminding the members of the DepEd family, sabi ko sa kanila, by 2022, no one will notice or care what we do or what we don't do, because we will be busy with other concerns, the country. So, kailangan by this time, we already make an assessment, an inventory of what we have done and what needs to be done. Kasi next year, by January, or when we open the face-to-face classes, the entire country will also be involved in the political exercise, and we will not be noticed anymore. And so this is why I'm visiting all the regions. They say, Tom Romulo and Mayor, that I'm the only Secretary of Education who has visited all 17 regions. And so I thought that as I finish my term, I will visit the regions again. And when I consulted Yusik Willie, sabi ko, kung sa NCR, saan tayo mag-hold ng visitation and briefing. Without hesitation, sabi niya kaagad sa Pasig. And I was so delighted because Pasig has given the country so much honor, so much support. Walang drum beating, walang mga threats, walang privilege speech. Si Mayor, bigay lang ng pera. Si Kong, boto lang sa Oo, and that's the kind of very unusual and kind of leadership that we are looking for at this time that we are facing the pandemic. And I'm very, very sure Pasig will move on and move forward. Pasig is very special, as you all know, not only politically, not only in education, basic education, for example, but also in culture. I grew up with the stories of Nick Joaquin about Pasig River, Doña Jeronima, and and then of course singing Mutya ng Pasig, and all the legends about Pasig. And on the way here, traffic, masyado ma-traffic. On the way here, I was looking at the buildings and all the progress that has happened, and I could not imagine that this was the place that Rizal talked about. Or Nick Joaquin, especially, has magical stories about Pasig. And I really love the stories of Nick Joaquin, and I hope that our children grow up not only knowing the capital or the region, but also the stories, the myths that have in more ways than one shaped what is the Philippines today. And all the legends and very, very beautiful music that was created for Pasig. Kaya sabi ko nga kay Kong Romulo na this auditorium would really be wonderful for theatrical productions, for music, for theater, for dancing, and this is the best way to teach children history is through music, through theater, and the best way to teach even the complexities of mathematics is also through music. I have seen children dancing and singing about multiplication tables and divisions and so on, using stories about Guantamad and all that. So this auditorium is very, very special, Mayor and Congressman, and we hope that this will be a model for other high schools and other leaders. This is the decade not just of centralized national government, but also the increased role of the local governments and the local officials, especially with their access to more and increased revenue because of the Mandanas law. So thank you very much, Kong Romulo and Mayor, for hosting this briefing. This is the entire officialdom, at least the third level officialdom of NCR, and I brought along, I was telling both of you, na full force kami nandito, may undersecretaries, may assistant secretaries, because Pasig deserves no less. And so, and NCR, of course, and so when observers say, note with dismay what they see as deterioration in education, my answer always is look at Pasig. Look at NCR, look at Region 4A, and you have We have 20 schools, and I repeat again, whose scores are higher than those of the OECD countries. These are the countries of Europe, the donor countries. Ang scores nila mas mataas. Actually, this is my second visit already. I was here before the pandemic.